Welcome to Selling in the Motor Trade, in association with Automotive Management and Simco Training. This is the weekly podcast where we share best practice, tips, and ideas on how to sell more cars, improve your service department, and generally put more profit into your dealership or dealer group. I'm your host, Simon Bowkett, or some of you might already know me as Skippy. And firstly, I want to say thank you for taking the time to tune in. Now, listen, a couple of questions I want to ask you then. Let's imagine you're brand new in the industry, okay? And chances are you've done this with your two daughters and your nephew. But someone's listening to this podcast now, okay? They've just started. They're in the first 90 days. Sean, what do you do? What advice do you give that person? I think there's lots of advice already you've talked about, but what would you do if the world went to shit and you started selling cars again tomorrow? What would you do?
Yeah. So the very first thing that I would do is I need to get onboarded the right way. And again, if you're brand new, your managers might not be onboarding the right way. So the things that are important to me to articulate to people listening to this podcast is get the OEM certification. Go through all the product knowledge you possibly can, because the more that you are understand and comfortable with the product, the more that you believe in the product, the more that you love the product. See, sales is about transfers of energy. The more that you're passionate about it, the more that you could, sell somebody on it. So I'd say product knowledge is honestly instrumental. Second, the basics, the road to the sale. You need to understand how do you up somebody? How do you qualify them? How do you identify wants, wishes, expectations? How do you meet them? How do you be able to identify features and benefits and provide value? How do you do these things? So that would be important. Now, those are the two most basic things, in my opinion, is the products and the basic road to the sale. Now, once you've done that, I would say that you need to be able to come up with a plan, because it's very difficult or impossible to hit a goal or achieve it if you don't set one out. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is, how are you going to sell 20, 30, 40 cars if you don't have a roadmap? If you say, okay, I'm going to work hard, I'm going to take ups. I'll give you an example. I'm 5'5". So you might not see me guys on the podcast, but I'm only 5'5". I'm short, right? So if I say, and I have a 6-foot shelf, and I need to get to something that's on top of the shelf, I can't, have a positive attitude. I could be like, you know what, I'm gonna try really hard and stretch. Doesn't matter how positive I am, I'm not touching the top of the shelf. What if I try really hard? I'm trying, I'm stretching hard. So it's not trying hard is not gonna get me to my goal. It's gotta be realistic. I need to be able to be realistic about something, and to be realistic, I need to be able to see it. So one of the biggest things that people don't do is a plan. If you wanna sell 20 cars, 30 cars, whatever that number is, reverse engineer. Okay, so if there are 22 employee working days, okay, that means that if I want to sell 20 cars, I've got to sell almost one car every single day. So then that's going to say, okay, great, now I know that I need to sell one car a day. How am I going to sell one car a day? Okay, where am I going to get my cars from? Most people don't have a clue. Again, as we talked about earlier in the show, is that the average salesperson only uses 2 to 3 max out of the 8 ways. So if I know from the beginning that there's 8 different ways, and if I diversify and then I spend my time throughout the day, going through the different ways that I have opportunities, working the service drive, working orphan owners, working whatever leads I could get from internet, phone, or fresh ups. Now, those are the things that are coming from the dealership. So what I would say is this, let me recap real quick. You've got to get basic knowledge so you can get started. That's going to be the OEM certification or the OEM product knowledge, and that's going to be the road to the sale. Then from there, you need to have a plan. And even if it's not the most sophisticated at first, even if you just know the number of cars that you want or need to sell, and then approximately where you're going to try to get these cars from, those categories. Remember, there's 2 main opportunities: what the dealer provides and what you generate on your own. Too many times, salespeople focus only on what comes from the dealership. So the goal should be is when I first start in the first 90 days, my goal is to just use whatever the dealer gives me until I could build my own business. So as you are eating and selling cars from walk-in ups, B-backs, orphan owners, service conversions, internet phone ups, whatever, That's strategy one. The other strategy simultaneously, you need to start to build your brand within the dealership. So the easiest way for brand new people is this, and Devin, I don't know if you've done this before, but I advise, and this is one of the things that we talk about on Bradley Demand for new hires, is download all of your contacts from your iPhone or your Android or whatever device that you've got into a CSV file. You could export it. It's very easy. Every contact in there into a CSV file. Then what you could do is you could export all of your email address contacts from, your current email server, your old email, if you've got an AOL, MSN, whatever. Now you have a little database, your own database. And what should be in there? I don't know, whoever's in your damn phone and your emails for your entire life, friends, family, frenemies, people you used to go to school with, your ex coworkers, whatever, and from your other life and your other career. Now you've got a database. With that database, you could do a lot of cool things. Old school, you could just turn around and make that your first list. And you should call every damn person on the fifth or sixth day you're at the dealership and let everybody know that you just started at ABC Motors and that you want them to know that you're there to help them, even if they're not in the market to buy or sell a car. If they just needed advice on financing, on new, used vehicles, trade-ins, whatever, you are their new car person. Then from there, if your dealership offers a bird dog or referral fee, then I would definitely entice them on that. Hey, listen, if you know anybody that's in the market to buy a car, you refer them to me. You don't have to do anything. If I sell them a car, I'll give you X amount of dollars. And I have a lot of stores in the United States that buy cars directly from the public, like acquisition. And if you know somebody that wants to sell their car, if they don't want to trade it in or buy, so they just want to sell it, I'll even spiff you or refer you on that. And now you want to start generating referral agents, your little minions. Like the law enforcement has informants. As a salesperson, you want to turn around and generate informants or agents of your own to be able, but start with your friends and family. Now, as you started with the low-hanging fruit, your friends and family, through the phone call, I would take that CSV file that you created. You've got to clean it up. Now, this might be a little bit more advanced. So there's tools in the United States. There's websites called Fiverr or Upworks. These are like Uber services.
We have Fiverr, yeah.
Perfect. So Fiverr. So in the UK, so Fiverr is amazing because I would go to Fiverr and I'd find somebody on there and say, look, I got these two databases, these two spreadsheets. I need you to consolidate them. And if you could turn around and organize them for me, how would they do that? There's something called a data pen. There's really cheap software that somebody knows what they're doing could take that list and bounce it across, some databases to try to update, like email addresses or contact information. Once I have a clean database, now game on. I could upload that CSV file into Facebook's ad manager, Pinterest's ad platform, Google, And now I could start putting a small budget, even if it's $20, $50, $100, and grow it. Now I'm starting to create display ads and video ads to my own people. Okay, I'm not even talking about targeting yet and targeting LGBT or women I'm just talking about your own people. Start with the people that know you, like you, love you, owe you, and that's where you would start, in my opinion. Now, as I do the digital stuff, as I build my own brand, I'm gonna explain one thing we didn't talk about. Can I talk about one thing that's big?
Yeah, of course you can, yeah.
Okay, so I have a very unique strategy. I believe that most people micro-sell. Micro-sell,
yeah.
Yeah, micro-sell. That's selling one car at a time. Okay, that's selling one car at a time and maybe a 2-car deal, 3-car deal. And I'm not talking about fleet. See, fleet is you sell X amount of cars, 10 cars to the police department. Yep. I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about macro selling is find organizations or places that you could sell a lot of cars to. I'll give you an example, churches, right? So if my dealership has a $200 bird dog, in the UK, do you guys give referral fees?
Yeah, most dealerships will do, to be fair.
They better.
There will be some, yeah.
And if you're not doing this, you're crazy. Because if here's what you do. If you're a manager, owner, listening to the podcast, it's simple math. If you take what your monthly ad spend is, the United States is $64,000 a month. And if you sell 100 cars, which is the average United States for the stores, you're spending $640 per car. My logic as a high-level manager is, why the hell am I okay spending $600 to $800 per car sold, but I am not okay with incentivizing somebody who legitimately, for real, gave me a referral I would have never had before. So spending $200 or $300 is a no-brainer for me. So now if we have a $200 bird dog or euro, whatever you want to do, 200 euros, 150 euros, whatever you want to give somebody, guess what I could do? If I go to church, and I'm not saying go to church and fake it. I'm saying if that's in your heart, if you have faith and you go to church, here's an idea. Go to the pastor. If it's a Christian church, as an example, you could do this any denomination, right? And say, I have Pastor Marty at my church. Say, hey, Pastor Marty, listen, I don't know if you know, but I've been in the automotive industry for a long time. I'm one of the senior sales consultants. And as I was talking to my manager, because they have programs, the manufacturers have programs for military, law enforcement, and first responders, that there's these great incentives. And I asked them if they have anything for churches. They said, not really. I said, well, can I start one? I belong to FAC Church and I love it there. They said, tell me about the church. I told him, and my GM just approved it. So Pastor Marty, what I'd like to be able to do is I'd like you to let everybody in our congregation know that if they're in the market for a vehicle, or even if they don't want to buy a vehicle, they were in the process of buying it, but they just need to have their paperwork checked out to make sure they're getting a good deal. Let me look at their trade-in. I'm here to help because this is my congregation. And as a matter of fact, Pastor Marty, if anybody purchases a vehicle from us, I will donate $200 euros directly to the church. Now, I belong to a big church with thousands of members, for the record, right? And so if I have this program in my church, I could probably get 10 to 18 deals a month. And then think about that. That means that the church could get $1,800, or $3,200 a month, depending on how many cars we're selling and what the referral is there, for free, just by partnering. So again, I did this for military and law enforcement in New Jersey, in the state of New Jersey. There is a free publication called NJ Cops Magazine. It's like a real estate magazine. Every single police department in the state of New Jersey, every county sheriff's department in New Jersey, every state troopers barracks in New Jersey, every correction facility in New Jersey, and every federal agency with an office in New Jersey gets this publication. We basically did a full page ad that said, Blue Lives Matter, show us your badge, and we created all this value. Then what we did is we went on, LinkedIn or Google and found all the police departments that we could in law enforcement, and we basically said something like this. Hi, can I speak to the captain or the chief? Hey, my name is Sean Bradley. I'm one of the managers here at ABC Motors, and I wanted to just thank you so mumuch for all that you and your officers do, for your service. Matter of fact, I was former United States Army, which is true. I was in the reserves in ROTC. I'm in the United States Army, and again, it's just out of respect, I want to just thank you. And I want to let you know that, I don't know if you know this, but we have a special program that's only open for military and law enforcement, and it has these different benefits. So I wanted to just let you know if there's anything that we can do, even if it's just checking information, paperwork, or actually providing value in new or pre-owned vehicles, you could consider us as a resource. And as a matter of fact, if any of your officers or their families or any of your employees, they could be in support, or their families purchase a vehicle, we will actually donate $200 to your police department. And what I would do is if you think about it, right? Most salespeople don't sell cars to organizations. Why? Because they don't spend any time trying to find organizations. They spend all their time trying to sell one car to one person, or if they're lucky, a 2 or 3 car deal, which is an anomaly. It's not an average thing. So if you start making time during the day, even if it's a half an hour to an hour a day, trying to figure out macro business, how could you build a value package for military, law enforcement, for teachers, for schools, for anybody that's part of an organization, a church, and give them a reason to drive you traffic? Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes all the sense, but it goes right back to that's treating it like an entrepreneurial business. Okay, you're a franchise within the franchise. That's where people are going to start thinking there. Hey, listen, same question again. I'm going to ask you in a slightly different way. You go and buy your dealer group now. Okay, you buy a dealership, you're now a dealer. Because listen, lots of people listen to this are owners, senior managers in big dealer organizations, like in the States, we have the Pendragons world, the Virtues of the world, big dealer groups. What does the manager do, listening to this, thinking, great, that's good, but how do I do this for the whole dealership? Sure, there's got to be a lot of the same things you're talking about. What would you do in the first 90 days if you bought Dealer Synergy dealer group? I don't know if that's on the horizon or not, but if you did buy a dealer group, what would you do?
It's actually a little bit different than what I just said. Okay, so for me, I'm a Covey trained, consultant. Dr. Covey says in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, the third habit is put first things first. Okay, another way of saying that is be careful of distractions disguised as opportunities. So as a manager or as an operator, the thing I need to identify is what is my preeminent opportunity. Okay, what is my preeminent opportunity? Which means is what can I do that's going to have the most massive effect or ROI for my organization with the least amount of effort and the least amount of cost? I'm gonna repeat that. What can I get the biggest bang, the biggest result for the least amount of cost and least amount of time? Now, I'm going to give the answer right now. There's nothing that anybody listening to this can say that is more powerful than the internet. Let me give you some stats. In the United States, 99% of people go online to do some form of research before they step into a dealership. Fact. Second, on a global level, Google says that 90% of all transactions start on search. People find their husband, their wives, their pets, their medication, their restaurants, and damn it, their automobiles online. So what I would say is I need to build the absolute best internet initiative. And this is what I specialize in and why we work with the biggest, most powerful dealer groups in the United States, multi-billion-dollar dealer groups. I'll give you an example. We have a single point Ford dealership called Bob Ruth Ford. Bob Ruth Ford is in Pennsylvania. We joke around, call it Pennsyltucky, because it's in the sticks. There's only 2,500 residents in that area. 2,500 people live in the Dillsburg, Pennsylvania area. They've been in business for 20, 30 years, what have you. The most that they've ever sold is 225 cars, 230 cars before we got there. We took a store that was doing 75 cars on the internet, 230 total, to doing about 400 cars and doing from 75 online to 320 units online. So here's why. Most people in the world, in any country, including the UK, do a very, very bad job on the intermediate to long-term follow-up. So let's go through this. This is gonna be interactive. I want you to play with. Okay, so think of a good store, like that sells at least 150 to 250 cars. You have one in your mind?
Yeah, I have it, yeah.
Okay, good. So now, in the UK, how many internet and phone ups will these people get lead-wise in a month at a 200 plus car store, approximately internet and phone-wise, leads?
It's got to be 600.
Okay, watch this. Now, in the UK, if you have 600 leads, honestly, right, real ones, not bullshit, internet walk-ins or the internet directors flamming the numbers to prove his existence. I mean, literally, how many in the month? Let's use this month, last month, July. So if they got 600 fresh leads in July, I don't mean consolidated, I mean raw. So if they got 600 raw leads, that is including duplicate and bad leads, whatever, right?
Yep.
How many deliveries do you think they're going to have in the month of July?
Okay, so let's say it's going to be 200.
Okay, so you're saying that if they get 600 fresh leads, you believe that the average store sells 200 cars from the internet?
No, not from the internet. That was the total. Okay. From total. So from the internet, listen, it's going to be more like 50 to 75.
You know what? Thank you for your honesty and your accuracy. I would concur with that number, okay? Because that's similar to the United States.
Yep.
So now let's use the high end of the number. You said 70, right?
Yep.
Okay, now here's the conundrum, my brother. Okay, first and foremost, people think that if you have 600 leads, and I'm gonna even dumb it down a little bit right here. If it's 60, right? So if I said to, not to you, because I don't want to put to our audience, okay, if you got 600 fresh leads in July 2021 and you sold 60 cars, what's the closing ratio? Most people would jump out and say 10%. And I'd say, wrong. It's absolutely not 10%. Here's why. The OEMs say on average it's an 87 day. It's an 87 day window period for new cars. It's about a 45 to 60 day for used or special finance. So watch this. So that means on July 1st, if I did a report, all active internet leads and phone ups that are 90 days or less on July 1st, I guarantee you at a 200 car store, it damn sure wouldn't be zero. In my professional opinion, it would probably be closer to about 1,100 leads. That would be my number. So I'd say that you have 1,100 leads on July 1st. Then you've got 600 fresh leads. So you've got 1,700 opportunities in the month of July. So if you sell 60 or 70 cars, in my opinion, humble opinion, you're broken because you are not leveraging, any or all of the intermediate or long term. Let me explain it in a different way. If you start July 1st with 1,100 leads, and let's pretend you shut all marketing and advertising off. There's 0 leads, no 600 fresh leads. You got to ask yourself, how many cars should I sell in the month of July just over my carryover leads? Because if you think about it, if I get an up On June 25th, June 29th, days later, it's a new month. Are those leads no good? Of course they're good. Yeah. So again, 1,100. So watch this. 1,100 times 0.05, 5% is 55 cars. So the answer, I would say, before you even get your fresh lead in the month of July, you should be selling anywhere from 55 to 110 cars. That is only 5 to 10% of the carryover leads that are only 90 days or less old. Now, with that being said, out of the 600 fresh leads, how many, should I sell? Again, 10% is obviously 60. So even if we were conservative, I would say at a bare minimum, 55, which is 5% of carryover, and 10% of fresh, okay, you should be selling a bare minimum of 115. Now, if you're a little bit advanced, okay, you should sell 10% of the carryover, which is 110, and then you should sell about 12% of the 600. So 600 times 0.12 is 72, right? So now you are at 110 plus 72. You're at 182 cars. So here's a big swing, and this is why it's crazy for people to understand. So that is a huge swing. You're really looking at a range of a minimum of 60 cars to 182 units. Now, what's going to predicate that is, okay, do you have the right amount of inventory for that? Yes, you have enough leads to convert, but do you have enough inventory? That's question one. Question two is, do you have enough people? That's what cripples dealerships, is that they're upside down. In the United States, most dealerships are still antiquatedly set up with 10 salespeople, 2 sales managers, GM, GSM, F&I, and maybe 1 or 2 internet people. They staff for the showroom, but they don't put the proper infrastructure for where there's opportunity, the internet, phones, and BDC. Does that make sense?
Yeah, BDC is where the option is. But also, dealers are thinking of now. I'm just the hunter. Who do I get now? It's not that long-term stuff you're talking about.
Which is stupid, because if you want to have a tomorrow, you need to start building a pipeline. So again, but I'm saying get both. I'm not saying don't get the short term. Yep. I concur. There should be 60 to 72 cars that are coming just from that 600. I say create both. Now, here's another thing that you might not. I'll give you an example. Check this out. This is going to blow your audience's mind. Okay, I spoke at almost 400 NADA 20 groups. I'm gonna case study a 300 car store. Okay, this is a real store, Ford store. 300 car Ford store in Georgia. I'm not going to mention where, but in Georgia state, they have 27 salespeople. Now, 27 salespeople, 300 cars, not bad. I'd say it's not great, but not bad. I asked the one question. I said this. I said, okay, how many internet and phone deals out of the 300 are you doing? They jumped out really quick. They said 111. So I said 300 minus 111, okay, equals 189. And I said, excuse me, do I have permission to speak freely? The DP said, sure, that's why we brought you to the 20 group. I said, you guys suck. He said, what do you mean? I said, my brother, do me a favor, watch this. If you take 189, divide that by 27 salespeople, that means that you're only averaging 7 cars a piece. Meaning, if you take your 300 car store with 27 salespeople, take out the internet and phone deals, and some of those are probably cookbooks anyway, but let's just be real, okay? Then you're only average 7 units a piece. Now I said I got something even further. Out of your 27 salespeople, how many are selling over 20 cars a month? And they said really quickly, they said, oh, that's 5. Are you sure? I said, okay. And I said, and some of them are like 25. I said, okay, so if you take out 100.
5 out of 27 now.
Yes, right. If you take 5 people out of 20, you know where I'm going with this. Your stomach's. So watch the math. I said, okay, so you take that out. So that's 100 there. So now we're down to 200 sales. So that's there, right? The math came out that if you back out internet and phone deals and your top 5 people out of 27, right? There's 22 people left over divided by the remainder. It only averaged to 3.6 units apiece. Let me repeat that. In this 300 car store, if you take out internet and phone ups globally, and then you take out anybody doing over 20 cars, which is the top 5 out of 27 salespeople, the 22 people, what they averaged, 22 people, if you take internet and phone out, they only average 3.6 units apiece, which tells me, now watch the other side of this, is that you are massively missing the other 6 ways to sell. Because remember, there's 8 ways to sell. If you take internet and phones out, that still leaves walk-in, be back, orphan owners, prior customers, service conversions, referrals, and prospecting. See, what the problem is this for managers and operators is that if you don't have the proper infrastructure and you're not prepared to handle the massive volume of internet and phone opportunities, because that's the whole world is at, volume hides mediocrity. And you want to add insult to injury. Watch this. After their jaws were ready in the drop and they put them back up, they just went like this. You heard that? They put that back up. I said, can I ask you a crazy question? Do you have any bonuses for volume of growth? They said, absolutely, right? And I said, They're like, what do you mean? So I said, let me make sure I understand this correctly. If you take out the top 5 20-car people, your people are averaging 3.4 cars a piece, and you're bonusing people on volume of growth. I said, so you're paying stupid tax now. They're like, what are you talking about? It's like, you are giving people bonuses to ignore 6 major areas to sell. Their jaw dropped again. I said, what you need to do is you need to develop an internet infrastructure and not make it an internet department or a BDC. You want to have an internet dealership or a business development dealership where that is the center of your universe, because there's a massive amount of opportunity there. However, if you structure this the right way and you train and hold accountable part of the floor to be focused on the other 6 ways, and you put pre-qualifiers in your bonus, meaning that if you have a 10 car, 12 car, 15 car, 20 car bonus or whatever it is, I'm okay with that. But make sure there's pre-qualifiers and say that if you're going to hit this bonus, that X amount of cars have to come from either service or prospect or referrals. Incentivize people on the behaviors that you need. The dealer, the GM or the owner needs to understand that like the salesperson, there are 8 ways to sell. So what I would say is this, let's just role play really quick so people could understand this, because it's a little advanced stuff on a podcast, is because you're a good operator. If I'm going to ask you, how many cars do you want to sell next month at your dealership? Say 200.
Yeah, 200 sounds great.
That's great. Okay, great. 200. Okay. Where are you going to get your cars from? So now stop. I don't want to put you on the spot because you're my friend, right? But I guarantee you, if you're going to keep it real, okay, ask if you're a senior manager or an owner, ask that to any of your sales managers. And wait, I'm going to laugh my ass off when you get back with Devin over here, because most people are going to say we're going to work hard and take ups. But I guarantee you that 90+% of people listening to this podcast as a GM or dealer are not even having the 8 ways. So I'm saying specifically, if I ask a GM or a GSM, how many cars are you going to sell me, and I'm a DP, and you say 200, I'm like, okay, great. How many are coming from walk-in spots in August on the whole store level? How many are coming in from B-backs on the store level? How many from internet, from phone? How many from service conversions? How many from prior customers or orphan owners? How many referrals are our team going to bring in, and how many prospects are going to bring in? And I guarantee you, if you project and reconcile, what I mean by reconcile is at the end of August, and you sell 150, or hell, even if you sell 210 cars, you need to reconcile what you sold based on that projection. And I guarantee you're going to create a SWOT analysis. You're going to identify your strengths are, your weaknesses, your opportunities and threats. And so that's the way proper projection and forecasting and having a solid tactical plan on a dealership level will help you immensely.
Brilliant stuff. Listen, I really appreciate the time you've done on this. Listen, I've got to ask 2 final questions, okay? Listen, we ask everyone for 1 final tip, and you've given so much advice there. Listen, people need to be going and listen to this. All we want is just 1 tip now, okay, that someone can go and do today to sell an extra car. They're driving to work, they're listening to this and say, right, I want to sell an extra car right now. What's 1 tip, what's 1 idea that you want to leave people with? And then I'm going to ask how people find you.
Yes. Okay. So what I would say, again, narrow it down, because I'm so diverse. You know what I mean? Like this is mixed martial arts. Is that tip for a salesperson, an internet rep, BDC rep? Pick one.
Yeah, let's go for the salesperson. 1 tip. The salesperson's listening to this today. What's 1 tip?
Okay. So what I would say is, oh my gosh, I have so many. I would say this. One of the best things you could do, I'm going to piggyback what I said before about the macro selling stuff, is you want to be able to generate a massive amount of referrals or prospects. Now, let's talk about referrals. This is my 1 tip, is referrals. Understand there's a difference of referrals. Not all referrals are the same. What a lot of you listening to this think is a referral, I don't even respect as referrals. If I sell a car to somebody and I ask that person, hey, if you know anybody that's in the market, please refer them to me, that to me is a lazy ass referral. That's not the tip. That is an expectation, and you should be doing that anyway. That's standard operating procedure. Here's the tip, is think of macro referral agents. Okay, I'm gonna say this again, is think of people that you could come in contact with, right? That has access to a lot of other people. Now, for the people that are listening to this on the podcast, I'm about to go onto YouTube and show this right here. And so I suggest you go to the website and we'll have the actual video here. But I'm going to show you 2 quick examples that are going to blow your mind that you could sell cars to right now. So if you go to YouTube and you type in the word Sean V. Bradley ups the waiter. Here am I at a restaurant upping a waiter. Listen.
And you are Jeff, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so Jeff, I asked you a question. I said, do you know anybody in the market for a vehicle? Because if you do, we'd be able to pay X amount of dollars for that referral.
Oh, yes.
How many people do you know right now that are in the market for a vehicle?
Probably 2 or 3.
Stop. So what I just did is I just asked a waiter at a high level restaurant like Ruth Chris. So not like a ghetto restaurant, it's a nice restaurant. They get a lot of traffic in the city. And I basically upped the waiter and I asked him, I said, who do you know that's in the market to purchase a vehicle? And the guy said that he's got 2 or 3 people right now that he's need. So you don't just ask random people. If it was me, I would sit at my desk right now after I listen to this podcast and I would say, who do I know personally? Start with the low-hanging fruit that has access to a lot of people, a real estate agent, mortgage broker, a person that works at a gym, somebody who works at a restaurant, a bartender, club that has access to people. And I'm going to turn around and approach that person and I'm going to incentivize them. But the way that I do is this, and if you listen to this video, I say the magic words, I say this, how would you like to make an extra $8,000 to $10,000 a year for practically doing nothing? I didn't say I'm going to give you a $200 bird dog or referral. When you took your job in car sales, they didn't sell you on, hey, you could make $200 or $300 commissions, come work at ABC Motors. No, they said to you what you could make annually. Now, if this referral agent doesn't do what they need to do, they're not going to earn $8,000 to $10,000 a month. But if they gave me a referral, at least 1 referral a week that I have potential to sell, and if I sell 1 car deal a week, see, that's the thing right there. That's the magic tip that I want to give is find referral agents, right, that you can get referrals on a daily or weekly basis, not just randomly once a year. That's the big tip right there. The other video, which is crazier, but this is kind of fun, is I'm in a tattoo shop in Iowa, right? And this is me.
All right, so Danny, say hello to everybody.
Hey guys.
Okay, so tell them where we're at right now.
Say what?
Where are we at? What's this place?
We are at Elysian Inc. in Urbandale, Iowa.
Okay, and we are really getting a tattoo. Like, this is not like a fake one, right? This is not like a henna, like art.
Yeah, this is legit. Needle
Watch
on
this.
the skin.
Okay, and so I'm going to play back what we just talked about. I just asked you a question. I had said, if I could show you a way that you could make $8,000 to $10,000 in a year for like practically doing nothing, tell them the truth. What did you say at first?
I said no.
No, right? You're like, no. And then and tell them why, because you said that you didn't want to add.
I didn't want to add anything else to my already full plate.
Okay, but then when I said to you, listen, I'm working with Charles Gabus Ford. They have a Toyota dealership at Des Moines and they have a Kia dealership as well. And I said, what if I told you that if you refer somebody to them and they actually buy a car, that they could pay you between $200 to $300? What did you say to that?
I was like, okay, I would do that.
Hell yeah, right?
So the tip is this. This is old school stuff. And you asked me in the beginning of the show, is there anything from back in the day, from the 90s that's still relevant today? See, there's 3 questions that you need to master if you're in car sales. You need to ask everybody every day without exception and fail, are you in the market for a vehicle? It's yes or no. No? Who do you know that's in the market for a vehicle? Why? Because I pay cash money for referrals. I don't know anybody. Okay, what kind of car are you driving? Why? Because we're in a pandemic, we're in an inventory crisis.
Yeah.
We need used cars. So depending on your vehicle, we might actually be able to get you more for your vehicle than it's worth. Folks, you got to remember, this is the answer, the climax of this. Okay, the tip is this. Every single person you meet either needs to buy a car today, or they will need to buy a car in the future, or they know somebody that needs to buy a car today, or they know somebody that needs to buy a car in the future. If you don't ask, you don't get. Sales is a numbers game. The more people you ask a question to, or solicit or pitch, the more opportunities, the more conversions. So the more people you ask, the more yeses that you get. So the tip is this: everywhere you go, you need to be creating referral agents for yourself. What do you think about that?
Brilliant, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Listen, Sean, thank you so much for this. I really do appreciate it. Listen, tell us, how do we find you? What's the easiest way for people to reach out and find you?
Well, if I can, thank you so much for listening. I know this is a long podcast, but we're coming all the way from the United States here. I'm all over the place. It's Sean V. Bradley on Google, on Facebook, on Clubhouse. But I have a conference that's coming up, so I don't know when you're going to air the show. In January, I would love to invite. We have people come all the time from overseas. We're going to have probably 300 plus dealers that are going to be coming in, mostly from the United States and Puerto Rico, and Canada. But again, I'd love to have some people from the UK to come out, or from Europe. It's going to be in Philadelphia. It's called the Internet Sales 20 Group, or the IS20G14. The other way, man, is if you've got TV, I just landed. I am the star of a major TV show. The name of the TV show it's from Vice TV. So that's VICE. Vice TV has a show called I Was a Teenage Felon. It's a major show. I'm actually on season 2. I'm the season finale. I'm the star of the show. So you can catch me online. I got a radio show called Against All Odds. And since you're not gonna be able to tune in on broadcast radio, you could go to againstalodds.com. Or you could go to anywhere that podcasts are available, and you can find the Against All Odds radio show on the podcast, or you can listen to my Millionaire Car Salesman podcast. I mean, like I'm telling you, or you could call me. My cell phone number is 267-319-6776, man. So yeah, I'm easily accessible. I'm here.
I love that. Listen, I'm really looking forward to seeing that TV show as well. That's going to be great. Sean, listen, thank you very much for your time there. You've given so much. You've been so generous there. That just leaves to say thanks again. That just leaves me to say that all details of this episode and other episodes on the selling in the motor trade can be found on our website, simcotraining.co.uk. Go there to get a copy of our book, Words That Sell Cars. Go there to sign up to a free trial of our Sales Fitness online sales training program. Easiest way to get hold of me is Simon Bowkett through LinkedIn. Thank you.